Let's talk about how internet safety experts protect their kids online. Today, I have a guest with me. She's a mother of four. She's an award winning author. Okay. She's amazing. I see a lot of her posts on LinkedIn, especially. And I wanted to talk with her about how she protects her kids online. Zinet, please introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Farida. We are a fan, all of my kids and me, of your videos. They like it because you're always talking about a balanced approach. It's not like don't give them this, but it's always about empowering it. So I like the fact that your videos are very much balanced. My son says so. So thank you for having me on. My name is Zinet Kemal. Yes, I do work in cybersecurity for a Fortune 500 organization. I'm a cloud security engineer there, but I'm also a children's book author. I have three published children's books, two of them on cybersecurity topics and one on girls empowerment. What else do I do? I'm excited to give my first TEDx talk next month on these topics related to this. And yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Like, I'm so happy about the work that you do and the fact that you're appearing online and talking about this because a lot of people that look like us aren't in cybersecurity. And so I'm just very happy that you're vocal. So, what is something that you do, like you find is very, very important as a mother of four and as someone who works in cybersecurity that you want other parents to know when it comes to protecting their kids online? It could be from a gaming aspect, a social media aspect, devices, it could be anything.
Yeah, so I'm a mother of four between the ages of 13. I have a 10-year-old, all kinds of friends, 8 and 3.5. And you can't, especially during the pandemic, they were heavily on devices. They're relying on internet for education, entertainment, and the gaming went crazy at that point, I guess. And then what worked for us is, I mean, we tried all of the things that parents do in terms of like restricting time and all of those things, but it's not sustainable. I think from a parenting standpoint, it's not sustainable because you can't just restrict them because it's the world that they live in. I think what's working out is just having the conversation always. That has been very fruitful so far from trial and error. I'm not saying that I figured it out from the beginning, but that helped a lot in terms of just picking up small things, and it could be from their own failures. I would say, like getting hacked. That's how the Oh No Hack the Game book came about, because they got hacked not once but twice during the pandemic, and out of that experiences, we get to have a conversation, and then those helped in terms of educating them. So we do have a little bit of here and there, content filtering, that type of thing for the younger ones. But mostly for me, it's been just talking about it. Like, even if I'm not playing games with them, I don't have time, but I'm always like, I know what they're doing. I know what they talk about. I always, jump in and say this. And they always say, like, how do you know about this? And I listen to you, even if I'm cooking or doing something, I listen to you. I know what you're into. So I think being in the know and just having a conversation has been very helpful so far.
So how did you start that conversation? Like, and at what age did you start it? How did it go about? Is there like a particular strategy you use?
Not really, after I thought I was doing everything right in the beginning, because, sometimes, parents get upset because either they were spending so much time and then you just ground them or something, but it wasn't sustainable because we just end up, or at some point, maybe giving them the devices, because especially during the COVID time, they didn't have any social interaction. That was the only time. Even my 8-year-old talks about how she learned reading quicker because of the chats that she has, because before kindergarten she was already done reading. Right now she's in first grade, but she knows how to read chapter books and everything. And they always say, yes, I learned from my older siblings, but also from the chats that I engage in that helped me learn things. Like, so I try to be cognizant of the opportunities that they have from online. But it was mostly the hacking that happened, using their accounts, one through phishing link because they wanted to do a survey link to get a free digital currency through gaming. The other one is either because they share their password because they trusted a friend. All of the things that I covered in the book. After that, I become more intentional in terms of raising those topics and just having a conversation with them. Otherwise, I didn't have any strategy before that, and that's why I wanted the books, because I wanted to be a conversation starter, at least for parents, because we're not taught this. I came from Ethiopia. We didn't even have internet, so it was a whole different generation and experience growing up. So I had to balance that.
So it was like the real life experience of them going through the hack and then realizing, oh, wow, like what mom is saying is actually true. And then using that as an emotional engagement to say, okay, this is why you have to be saved. This is why you can't click on a link. And that stuck with them quicker than any conversation.
Absolutely. And then my 8 year old, she went to school and people were giving her, here's our password, fix something for us. And she said, like, you're not supposed to share your password, because she went through it. She said, I got hacked. My mom even wrote a book about it. Like, you can't be giving this. Like, this may be a gaming, but in the future, it would be a habit for you. Like, she went on a whole educating that experience. So yes, life experience, and then just being intentional, and then just just a little bit of also listening. I'm not going into and saying like, what are you chatting about, or I'm not intruding in their things, but I know what they're doing. So I think it's a combination of all of those things.
That's why I always say like certain shows are really good, especially as kids get older and they go in their teeny years and they start talking to people online or they start developing emotional connections. Like watching things like Catfish TV. I think that's MTV that does that, or Undercover Underage, or just different shows that show them what's actually going on so they can see it and they understand, hey, you're not being hysterical. But you did say something about not looking at their chat. So what boundaries do you have in terms of, do you look through your kids' things? Do you do check-ins? Do you not do check-ins? How do you monitor their social media and their devices? If you're comfortable answering that. If you don't want to answer it, let me know.
Yeah. So my son had an experience where um, a boy that he used to play with had, and this was also covered, touched on in the story in the book. He had an experience, like a potential encounter with an online predator, because he was playing with him for quite some time, but gradually he insisted on having like a private video calls, even threatening that I'll be hacking your family's IP address and Wi-Fi unless you are willing to have like a video call, or that kind of thing. But then I went, and before blocking that person, that's what I did. Going through the chats, what I noticed was there were all the signs of the predator, even though this person was claiming to be a 12-year-old boy. And so always like be mindful of like whatever, whoever you're talking online under those avatars and profile pictures, it could be really anyone looking to harm you. So I think that was when I was very intentional about it. And this was 2 years ago when he was 10 or 11. Because you don't see people. They could be saying they're 12-year-old girl or a boy, but it could be really anyone, an adult. So I've had that experience, but then I'm not into like going to, I don't want to have that kind of relationship where I'll be, cat and mouse, where I'll be like checking your stuff. I want to be like, and trust them and empower them into like do right by yourself, because I may not be always there to look up everything, and just talking with them, like be mindful of that. But then of course when they get glued to it, like always checking and say that it's time to be off of it, do something else, read your book, because they need that reminders because they're young. Yeah.
We really do. And did he come to you with the situation or did you like happen upon it?
He came because the threatening part, I don't even know how he would do that. He was saying, it's will be I'll be hacking your family's IP and Wi-Fi unless you do that. And he was so terrified because he thought that would happen. And he was 10 or 11. And then I'm like, I went there, blocked the person. I didn't even engage in anything. But then I was able to see the past conversations that were happening. It was more of like, I'm your big brother, like you don't need anybody except me, that kind of. I knew the signs. And I think I've heard you talk about this topics on your videos too. So it was like, not a good one. So just blocked it. But he came to me because he didn't know what to do at that point. And he wanted to keep the companionship, because there were certain games that he likes to play that he could find friends with. So he didn't want to let go in the beginning unless it got to that point.
And how did you feel? Like, how did you go through those emotions? Because he wanted to keep the friend that he had because they're playing games together, but also he was scared. So I'm assuming that scared part really took away all those emotions. You didn't have to pull him away from
No,
yeah.
Yeah, so it was just explaining like you don't need to play with this person because if this person, if it's a friend, he should make you comfortable. That was what sold everything. He's like, yeah,
Yes.
right, mom, and you can make any other friends. But he kept saying, he's my big brother, that it's just, yeah, it's a lot of things. So for sure, it's
I know.
overwhelming now. And now, AI, everything's, happening. It's just things becoming more accessible. Uh, it's just
And did you ever feel the need to take away a game if that happened, or if there's a different situation? What made you take it away or not take it away?
not a game, but a chatting platform. You know how they have complementary other, chatting, messaging and chatting platforms that they use. I've taken that away from them in the past, but they got it back, because now they know how to better use that, but not a game.
Not a game. Okay. And so when you took away the chat, was there ever like a mental breakdown, an emotional breakdown, a tantrum that happened because you took away something?
It was mostly, asking and begging because we don't have other way to interact with people. So can we have it back? Just trying to convince me that they would use it for the right way. And they always say, like these gaming platforms, they have all the security guard rails. They always kind of like, find out and say that, it's here, it's for kids, but we're hearing different things. But I try not to be too paranoid. And I say like, I trust you, but use it for the right reasons. You know what to do. You know how to speak to people, even with cyberbullying type of things. Like be mindful of that. And they hear me talk about it a lot of times, so they understand.
Speaking of messaging platforms, Discord just came out with parental controls. I talked to their team like last November. No, no, no. Yeah, it was November. And I was like, "Are you going to add parental controls?" They're like, "Well, we can't really talk about that. We don't think it's coming." And then now it's here, like 8,
Oh,
9 months later. So if your kids are on Discord, not just using, I'm talking about like just everyone watching this, that Discord does have more parental controls now. So that's pretty cool. But you mentioned about cyberbullying. So, what type of discussions do you have about cyberbullying? How do you deal with cyberbullying?
so they used to have also like a YouTube video, just streaming stuff when they were gaming, like especially during the pandemic time. So I asked them like how they would feel if somebody says mean things, on the comments or something. They say, "Yeah, I understand they do that, but we don't pay attention because it's all about like building self-esteem of kids." I think that helps because you can't avoid it, but at the same time you can control only what you can control. So I always say like we be kind to others. Like online kindness also applies online. Words matter. Whatever you say can have a negative or positive consequences. But then if something comes up online that you see it on a chat, because right now they don't have any social media because they're not there yet. But they understand because of that, because people could be saying mean things on social media and they know the impact. We talk about that, but they say sometimes we don't really care about that, but I try to talk to them because you never know. So
That's true.
uh, yeah.
And do you still allow them to do the streaming? And what decision making came into, am I going to allow them to stream or am I not? Are they mature enough? Like what was the decision factor in allowing them to stream?
I think
Because
they
a lot of
just,
parents don't know. They're like, I don't know if I should let them stream. Is it bad? Is it good?
yeah, it wasn't live stream. It was more like, doing clips of videos, editing it, and then just putting it out there for people. And I encouraged them, like maybe do videos where you teach about some skills instead of just doing just the game. But they say that's the only thing that makes us happy. Okay,
Okay.
do that. Okay, do that. Maybe when you grow, you'll do that. But it would, they said it teaches us how to edit. It helps us. So I try to be mindful of, okay, you do what you like. Right? So I'm not going to force you into doing something that you don't want to. But they stopped on their own. Like sometimes they phase out of things. That's what I noticed. And then they just stop because now they have more places to go. It was just a thing at that moment. So maybe when you pressure them into doing something or to get off of it, it's like they want it more. So I'm not trying to do that.
So how do you deal with that? Because let's say there's a particular app or game that you don't want your kids to be on, but then if you don't want us to be on, on that, like you said, they're going to want it more. So like, how do you deal with the I want it more? Is there certain games that they're begging for that you're deciding, no, I don't want you on this game or this social media platform?
I try to understand what they're gaming. They even create account for me and for their dad, like for my husband. They
Oh,
create
that's sweet.
avatars for us. They want us to play with them, but it's just that I don't have time. So I know what they do and what they're into. It's just a specific type of games, right? So I mentioned, and then when are you going to stop playing? Because so and so kid already stopped and say, I still like it, so I'm going to play. Like for example, my 15-year-old, like he still plays games. So I try to tell him like life isn't about sitting and playing games. Like do other things as long as you're doing that and you have time. But if you're gonna be, always on it, that means that you're not reading your book or practicing soccer because he wants to be a soccer player, a famous soccer player. So how's that gonna happen if you're gonna be spending time? So it was just understanding and just reminding because it's harder to unplug sometimes for kids, even for adults.
Is that how you deal with screen time? Like telling them, okay, here are the goals that you have, and you're spending a lot more time on the game. So if you really want to become a soccer player, then you have to put more time in. Is that how you deal with the screen time issue?
Yes, but it doesn't work only by telling them once because you have to. They fail back. They always fall back into it. But then having that reminder, like do this, like this is why you shouldn't be spending too much time, or because you have to be helping with your younger sibling. Just giving them a reason why it's not productive always to be on there. Just play some time and unplug and do other things. I think that conversation helps versus me taking away stuff from them because that didn't work. I've done that in the past.
And so what do you do when they're younger and they don't necessarily have any goals? They don't know what they want to do. So how do you manage the screen time then?
So before I've taken away like for a whole year, they never had like a gaming and they forgot about it until COVID came because it
Oh
was a
yeah.
shock. It was very dependent. So I took away for a whole year, like just completely no game. They forgot about it, but then they got back to it when COVID came and we were in lockdown. We weren't doing anything. They just do the schools, and then that's what happened. But I don't know if I was able to do that if they were at this young age group. It would have been a different experience because they know how to talk to me and convince me versus in the past. So, yeah, it's just an interesting journey for sure.
Is there like any parental control apps or screen time management apps or safety apps that you like to use for your kids?
I haven't used any parental control, but we had this 2 hour and then we used to close it. Like from my husband's phone, he would monitor. We still have like for downloading certain applications, they have to get approval from our phones, a couple of them, but I wouldn't call that. I think it might have been from our internet service provider,
Yes.
that kind of basic thing, but I would never buy a software to do that as a
Yeah, I think
parent.
a lot of people don't know that you can get like the parental controls from your internet provider, which is another great way to get some parental controls. Okay, so I know you have a whole book on talking to your kids and helping them understand internet safety. Like, oh no, hacked again. That's the title, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
so we'll put it. You have it with you. Yay! I'll put it in the description. Yes, I love that. So that is a book that you can read with your kids and like go over like the internet safety conversation, and I'll put all the links in the comments so that everyone can get it. And another thing that I wanted to know is there's like a couple of parents that I follow who are like in the internet safety world, and a lot of them post pictures of their kids online. And I love seeing the cute pictures. I love seeing the family vacations. So how do you post about your kids while maintaining privacy and security? What do you decide to post and what do you decide not to post?
So I have more, have been more mindful now because knowing the things that I know. But before it was just like it's harmless. It's my own kid. I mean, it's fine if I share the milestones, right? I've never thought about it until I heard about sharing thing. It's a thing right now, like where parents, without knowing the potential repercussions, share about milestones, activities, interests, like online. I think in France now, a kid can sue a parent for sharing too much information. I've heard about that. And then, I've been mindful of like what I'm putting out there in terms of just the digital trail for kids and how it exposed them to identity theft and all of those things. Getting ready to give my TEDx talk on that topic. So I am more mindful and trying to reduce, but at the same time, I think it's a parent's um, discretion to take risks and what is more, revealing of someone's interest and just versus me going to the park or taking a cute picture and sharing my. So, but I've definitely decreased that. But we didn't know, like as a parent, I have no idea that that is a thing. So, um, yeah, I asked them after seeing your video about where you talk about um, kids may not have given a consent to that. We only assume that because they are our own kids, like we have the right to do that. Yeah, right. So I talked to them about that after looking at your video, and they said sometimes we're fine, sometimes we're not fine. They just don't like the part where can I take a picture, and they never like taking a picture, but they like when they go back and look at their milestones. Like, oh, thank you for taking this picture, and then yeah, but you complain when I take a picture, but now you like looking at it. Sometimes it's just they looking my phone and just going through all the way, like 10 years back, and they just look at the picture. So I think it's important to be mindful of what we share in terms of like location, all the security settings, and then just, as a parent, just making the right judgment in what could be more revealing than what not. In terms of, I'm not going to say like don't share everything, but don't share every life trail that would put them in danger in the future in terms of exposing them from privacy perspective or embarrassing things. I try not to do that. Be mindful of that. Like don't post naked pictures of your kids just because they're young and in the shower. So you never know what that might cause in the future when they grow up, or if their school friends stumble on it. Just don't do that.
That's true. That reminds me of, I remember like when I was graduating high school, I did not want to take any graduation pictures like whatsoever. I didn't feel like doing anything. And then
Mm,
my mother was like, you should take your graduation photo. Like you're going to want to have this photo with us. And interestingly enough, I did not want to do it the entire day. I was like, oh gosh, you're doing this graduation photo thing. I don't want to do this. But then once I did it, I now have that memory, and I was so happy. As soon as the pictures were taken, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so awesome." And now when I look back, I'm like, I'm so happy that I did that because that was our only real photo that we had in that time period, because we don't really take that many pictures. And
mm,
so that was like a nice moment in time that I can look back on and I can say, "Oh, that's really nice. I'm very happy we had those photos." And so I can definitely see that from your children's point of view, where you look back and you go, you know what? Mom was right.
absolutely.
You actually want to take those pictures. So, is
Yeah.
there something that you've learned in your, because you're like a cloud security engineer,
Mhm.
is there something that unexpected that you learned on the job that you actually apply to protecting your kids online?
From my day job, no, not really.
You're like, nope, does it?
It was just a whole different experience, right? You're working for a Fortune 500 organization. You're protecting cloud migration from data center to the cloud, and then there is this. But through my experience of writing children's book or just talking to them, yes,
Yes.
I learned a lot of things, and just learning problems, right, to solve. It could be coming from my kids' experiences or the problems that I'm seeing or witnessing in the industry. It could be um, the lack of diversity, like you mentioned in the beginning, or just people talking about, or maybe we'll talk about it when we get to the
Let's
series.
talk about it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the problems that you see, I was seeing, people talk to me about, how it's less diverse, less than 9% of people who identify as Black professionals work in the industry, and then for women, it used to be 11%. Now it grew up to 25%, and for Black women, it's much less than 9%. So seeing that, and then people who see you because representation really matters, they reach out to you, and I get a lot of DMs on LinkedIn asking me like, how do I get into cybersecurity? Without realizing that it's a really broad industry and field, and I noticed, okay, if there's this disconnect, how do our younger children, because exposure matters too, right? Because you can only expose them to tech opportunities that people don't have, or cybersecurity opportunities. Because I'm a career changer. I came from a legal background. I used to work in the legal field when I was back in Ethiopia. So it was just a whole restarting of my career and beginning in cybersecurity. And I didn't have that guidance when I started. So when people reach out, so I thought, okay, if people are having this kind of disconnect, what if our younger people who want to get into the industry, they don't know about the roles that exist? As much as people say, I want to be a teacher, a doctor, a pilot, I've never seen kids say that I want to be a cybersecurity expert, or the
No.
different roles that exist in it, because cybersecurity is just a blanket statement, like a blanket word or phrase. So I touched on around 14 roles, at least what I know of within cybersecurity, to explain that in a kid-friendly language for our middle schoolers and high schoolers, so that they can see themselves. And you can only be what you can see. That is really true. So showcasing those characters within the book. I'm glad that you have the
I
book.
have it
See
too.
yourself in
Wait,
cybersecurity.
is that, yeah, that way. Yeah.
Yes. So just showcasing all the diverse characters within the book. And so Farida is also somewhere in here. Find yourself, and then just explaining the roles so that they can, aspire to become like that. For example, for somebody who's investigative and curious and a problem solver, oh, you can be a cyber forensic expert. So that's what you need as a skill, so that you can work through that and see yourself in the future doing that same thing. So that's what it came about. So not really from a day job, but just from what I'm seeing in the industry as a problem, just to solve that. And the books are really great way to communicate that. And so far, I've seen a lot of strangers like posting on LinkedIn saying that, oh, this helped me even to hire people, like as a recruiter.
Oh,
That
that's really, oh my God, that's amazing. What?
yeah, I've never thought about it, because initially it's like I tested it with my son, all the language, and everything, because he's in middle school. This would be great for, because that's when you think about even careers,
Hmm.
even if they start thinking about that, it's a good way to give them that exposure. So 13-year-olds all the way up, or 14-year-old middle schoolers and high schoolers. But the people that I'm seeing posting on LinkedIn are, okay, this is a good way to communicate the roles that I'm hiring for as a recruiter. That's interesting. And it's been great. So as long as it's solving a problem, and that's what it does. So I'm happy about that.
And I love it because it's giving people of different backgrounds and understanding of what they can do. And also, like when you're talking to kids, like, okay, if you're an artist, there's a way to combine art, your art and cybersecurity. If you're a plumber, there's a way to combine the plumbing experience with cybersecurity. If you want to be a rocket scientist, you can do the same thing with cybersecurity. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you can take your experiences and go into cybersecurity. I mean, there's so many things, because there's the experiences that you're having allow you to add different unique things together to create something different than we've ever seen before. And so for me, my gaming experience really helped me in cybersecurity, like that catapulted my cybersecurity career in ways that I didn't even understand. So what I tell parents all the time is that sometimes that activity that your child is doing that's like really pissing you off right now may be something that actually helps them in the future. You just have to help them manage it like in a healthy way. There's what is it? I think it's Saudi Arabia, that's which is really interesting to me because I grew up there. But they're doing a gaming conference earlier in a couple weeks, like 2 weeks. The
Ooh,
prize pool is $42 million.
I know. Parents
I
didn't object to that. Going,
like there's right legitimately 14-year-old right now that are paying off their parents' mortgage. And so it's like it's crazy. And so it's important to lean in, like you said, into what your kids really like, but then figure out, okay, how can I do this in a way that is safe? I believe there's an organization called Cope GG or something. I'll have to make sure I'm getting that right. And basically, I think it's Coalition of Parents for Gaming or something like that for esports. And so it's helping parents understand what is gaming, what's online gaming, what is esports, what are the career opportunities there. There are certain colleges, like right now I'm in Dallas, Texas. There are certain colleges in Texas where you can get a scholarship to play esports and games through there, and they'll teach you how to. And when you said your son was creating YouTube video and he was like, oh, like I like the game, a lot of people, they make money online by teaching other people how to play the online games. And I just got an email this morning, which is hilarious. I still game online, and I got an email from this course that I bought like 4 years ago. It's like $60 a year that teaches you how to play a certain game that I really love. And so I pay $60 a year just so that I can learn how to play this game really well. So a lot of people are creating courses, they're creating talks, they're creating content online, and they're making a lot of money because there are people who really enjoy a game. It's kind of like if you're playing golf. Like, I'm going to start learning how to play golf. I'm going to get someone, a PGA coach who knows how to play golf, and I'm going to pay them by $70, $80 an hour to teach me how to play golf. Even though it's a game, you still want to be good at it. So there's so many routes that you can take with cybersecurity. You can do cybersecurity education like I do, like content creation. There's many different ways. So I'm happy that you did the see yourself in in cybersecurity. And I think, yeah, I think this is my page. I think this is my
So
I'm
that's
so proud of it. I love it so much. So yeah, I'll put all of the information in the comments so that everyone else can see it. And you talked about before you're doing a TEDx speech on identity theft in children. Is that right? Or did I get it wrong?
it was more on empowering children on their online safety journey. That was like the whole topic of it. It doesn't still have a title, and but it's coming up in August. It's on TEDx Minneapolis. Yeah, I'm excited about it. That would be my first TEDx talk. So,
Well,
and I'm happy that it's on a topic that I am passionate about. So hopefully, when it comes out, I'll be able to share. But I would have invited you if you were in Minneapolis.
I know. Oh my gosh, this is the first week of August, right? Or the second week?
Yeah, August 12th.
August 12th. Okay, the second week of August.
Mhm.
Okay, so what made you so passionate about this topic, and what's like one tip from your talk that you're planning to talk about that you think parents should know?
Parents should know. I mean, the whole, like, in a nutshell, like the call to action is like talk to your kids about online safety. Like that's the main thing, but it also have message about for schools in terms of, because our K to 12 is not giving any cyber related education. So for schools, for policymakers, and for parents and guardians, those are at the end of the talk, like a call to action to give in terms of empowering our children online and how to protect them online in, in this digital connected world that we live in.
One thing that I love about you and your family, to be honest, and it comes up all the time, and it's come up multiple times during this, like our chat that we're having, and then when I talk to you privately, is how engaged you are with what your kids love and how positively you talk about gaming and social media. Like, you know the risks, you're very well aware of it. You've experienced some of the bad parts of it, whether it's a predator contacting your child or someone hacking your child's account. But you don't have this viewpoint of the internet is horrible, get your kids off the internet. Any parent that posts their child online or has their child has a gaming account, you're a horrible parent, whatever, that type of energy. And so what fuels you to have such a positive energy? Is it because it's like you've seen the bad side of it and you go, no, I'm intentionally going to talk about it this way? Or is it just like similar to how I am, where it's just a part of your personality and you saw some crazy stuff and you wanted to take a different approach?
I think it's just a personality thing,
Yeah.
because whatever is meant to happen is going to happen anyway. And I didn't grow up in the in an environment where there is internet. Like there is even no computer access in high school. Like even in universities, right? Growing up and learning in Ethiopia, right? And the only gaming I knew is Super Mario. And my kids think I'm very old school because I was like, why don't you play Super Mario? And they say,
Mario's great.
I know. They always say like, "That's so old school, mom. Like you could be playing so many cool games with us." And then I always go back to Mario because that's the only game I know. And it's just having, I mean, in life, it's just we have to see it as anything. Like you have bad people and good people. So it's just a mindset, I think, and then just knowing that you can't avoid it. It's there. It's just how you choose to handle it, I guess.
Did you have any fear with like the internet and safety because you didn't grow up with it and then your kids are now on it? Did you have any fear that you had to get through?
No, none at all. It was more like getting excited because there are opportunities, right? Because I always like to talk about creativity. Like my daughter says, like I learned to read because of that. they try to convince me on the positive side of it too. But then I'm always like, whenever I hear stories, for example, cyberbullying as a result of that, people, attempting, killing the, attempting suicide, all of those things like that we see on the news, like this could happen, like words hurt people, like how do you handle it, like even in school with bullying, right? We try to have conversations about that, like is there anything, like if it was like create scenarios, if something like that happens, how would you handle it, that kind of things. And I think also translates to the online world. So I think it's just a mindset thing.
I really think it is though too. It also helps you have like better conversations with your kids, and it makes it less, even though it can be awkward, it can be weird sometimes depending on the conversation, but the
Mm.
more open you are to having it, and the more um not just openness, but you're like interested in the topic, and you're like, this is very interesting, there's a positive side to this, how can we make sure that you see more of the positive side versus the negative, that makes everything go like as smooth as possible. So is there something that you feel that parents are doing online that if they were to change it, it would make their kids more safe? Something that you see, because you're like a content creator as well. I wouldn't say that's like what you do in your day job, because you have a whole corporate career with a Fortune 500 company. But is there something you see as you're scrolling through Instagram and LinkedIn? I don't know if you have TikTok, but those type of platforms.
I don't have TikTok. I had it, but I deleted it. It's not related to cyber professionals, worrying about privacy things. I don't really, when it comes to privacy things, I see all social media platforms similarly. Not
Yeah.
because it's TikTok. It was just for me, like I can't manage everything, and I just deleted that one, and I'm on a couple of them. So, and I forgot the question. Oh yeah, I'm not seeing anything that is, yeah, maybe the sharing thing that I've learned about, if people knew about it, maybe they would be more mindful of what they share. But otherwise, I'm doing similar things as every parent is doing.
Yeah.
I'm sharing milestones, I'm having the struggles, I'm having all of those things. But yeah, I think, not make it a big deal, just have a conversation, talk to them. We usually assume that kids don't know, like or they're too young, especially, I don't know, from Africa. It's like even if they're big, we assume that they're just young kids, and we tend to be, hiding information. I don't like that kind of culture where, like, if kids are taught, they know, they understand, and they know more than we do. So assuming that they know, and just have conversation with them, and they would understand. And the more you think that, assume that they know things and empower them, the more they are responsible about it. So
That's very true. That is so true. Oh my gosh. Because I every time I talk to someone who has a understanding of safety and security, they typically always come from a point of view of like the foundation of protecting your kids online is talking to them, building the relationship, and then listening to them. Like you said, it's not just about one-way street. It's not one big conversation. It's not like, here we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about the tech talk, because now you're opening up your first Instagram account. It's no, there are certain moments you remind them, you say, okay, do this, don't do that, or what has been your experiences, what have you seen, what do you wish that I knew a little bit more of. Is there something that your kids have taught you about the internet that you didn't know before from the conversation, or is it like just mainly because of their experiences that were new?
the parts where they mention about, like internet also teaches us stuff. For example, like because of this YouTube video, I know how to use CapCut. Like they refer one of my daughter as like she's the CapCut expert because she knows how to edit. She edited my videos a few times. But they have good outlook about, like it teaches good things. But at the same time, I'm not ready, for example, for the part where they're going to start using social media, right? So, and also the part where when to start using phones, like for example, right? For my son, we gave him phone when he was 12 because of peer pressure, because he kept saying that, okay, I don't need the phone, but everyone in school, even this is the word he used, even the geekiest kids have phone except me. And I'm like, why do you compare yourself? Like, you don't need it, you don't need it. But then after some time, with the snow and with pickup time and everything, we needed the phone. And then we ended up giving him at like 12 and a half. But then the girls ask now, when do we get, like, we're more responsible than him. Now, at any, younger age. And then how do you decide that? So it's a struggle. And I don't know, like, I think we figure it out, as we go along. That's how I'm seeing it.
Did you give him like a regular phone or did you give him a flip phone? What type of phone did you give him?
And we tried the flip phone, it didn't work. So for the iPhone, he had the iPhone, but he doesn't have any social media. And then for downloading any applications, he would have to get approval. But we know like what he uses it for. It was like he has like he said he has a friend circle where they exchange things, and you know it's just the school stuff for now. But I don't know. Like I can't say that don't use after some time. For example, when he becomes 15. So yeah, sometimes that's frightening. At the same time, if you're building that culture from a young age, I think it's going to help make things easier than, you know.
I agree. And I'm
Mhm.
assuming everyone like has Apple, so it's easier to manage. Because a lot of parents come to me, they're like, "Oh, I gave my child an iPhone because it was on sale, and then I realized I have an Android, and then now I can't even like control their phone because I have an Android and they have an Apple." And so they're going through like so many things. So if anyone watching this, hopefully you're getting your child the phone that's like similar operating system as you do, because
That is
it's
true. Yeah, that is true. We have all the same kind of phone, so that's good. Yep.
it makes everything like so much easier to manage and put everything together. And so he's not like into like any social media at all.
He's not. He
Oh,
began Snapchats in the beginning, and he said it's a group thing for school. He said it's not out to the public. So they said they share, and I looked at the pictures that they share. It's like the roof and full fence. Why is that? And I'm like, I don't understand. They like, this is how we do. Like, this is what we share. So that's why you need it. They say I felt left out. So it's coming from also like kind of belong to something, and I don't want to take that away from him, but at the same time, okay, like disable the location, like why is this on? And we know, like he knows what to do about that. That's the only social media I know, and he tells me that he doesn't use it like for public interaction with others. I mean, they have like a circle for his classroom that he uses it, and that was when he had classes, but right now he doesn't use that in summer.
how did you figure out like the location thing? Is it because you were looking through the Snapchat app and you saw the location sharing stuff?
Yeah, I've seen it because it was showing all the kids in their location around us. Like this is not okay. And then he went there and said, "See, mine is disabled." So he was showing me those things. But I was questioning, like, this is not good. This is telling other people on the internet that you are located here. Like, do you know that it's bad? Like, when we take your picture, we're not supposed to be sharing our home addresses. You're not supposed to be sharing things like we talked about these things, so I think that helps a little bit in terms of making him be more mindful.
How do you deal with, I think I talked about this before, I don't know if we went deeper into it, because he has his own phone and he has, well, Snapchat, but he doesn't use it very much, but he's like having other apps to communicate with his friends. Is there a way, do you do check-ins, or do you feel like you shouldn't do it? Does he feel like, oh, is my privacy being impeded upon? Like, how do you deal with privacy, safety, and then knowing what's going on? Because you knew about that incident with the guy contacting your kid, but that was because he came to you and said, this is what happened, mom. Like, I'm really scared.
Yeah, he has a couple of them that he talks on. Like the text is there. Sometimes I check that, but it wasn't in a way to let him know that I don't trust you, that I have to check everything that you're doing. But it's like, who are you talking to? Like, is this your friend or something like that? And then just occasionally checking those things. And I'm not being, too intrusion about it. And my husband also does the same thing. But we're not like, we don't trust you, have to check. So that we're encouraging him to hide things from us. So I don't want that to happen. So it was more like, okay, who are you talking to? Is this your friend? Who is this person? Is it from school or from gaming? And then, or is it from madrasa? Like some, because he has friends from Sunday school or Saturday school, right? So it was just more of casual check-ins to make sure that those things don't happen. but also, respecting the privacy. But I don't believe in totally like, oh, respect their privacy, like have their closed rooms in their rooms and game. I don't believe in that. He knows that. Like I have to be there in the room checking his, like we can anytime take the phone. Like he knows that. Like we could be checking that. So um, yeah, that's how
There's
we.
an expectation. Like
Yeah.
it, yeah, when you first gave the phone. And then there, I just did like a video around like kids talking to strangers online. So you mentioned that he has some friends from school and from friends from like Saturday and Sunday school, and then some friends that he met in the gaming. After that incident happened, I know that scared you as a parent, like, oh my God, this is someone who's contacting my child. How did you deal with the stranger danger, or do you talk to strangers online? Is there a time period? How do you deal with that conversation when you have a kid that is on online games?
Um, like for me, it was more like, be mindful of who you are talking to, right? So they have their cousins and they play similar kind of games, right? So they have their cousins. I know who they talk to, especially when it comes to audio chats, right? I know who they talk to. But then with the chats, I also ask them like, who are you playing with, right? Sometimes it's the school friends. Um, so far, it's not some random person who joined the server and they're talking about it. They're talking like it's not a common thing, that they call someone and talk to them. It's either their cousins or their friends that they know. um, so far that has been my experience, but you know it's always a struggle. You don't know, like sometimes somebody might reach out to them, and then would they answer that, like I think it's an ongoing thing, like to check and see, because they're kids, they might forget, they might be, they're very strategic, the online predators, in terms of isolating and slowly earning trust of a child. So I think it's important to have that conversation. And they always go to to my library and school events, when I do my readings, and it's always those stories always come up, and I think that helps them keep it fresh because the stories are covered in the books. Last time we went there, and it's like, it's been a while since I heard you read. And I did that in a public library. I was invited to do that for a summer something. And like, I still remember that story, and I can't believe you wrote it in a book. Like, that's cool. So, but it's an ongoing thing because new things come up all the time. And like I said, for the social media era, I'm not even ready. This is only, we're talking about gaming and just the Discord chat. That's it.
But it's interesting because I always say gaming and social media is like very similar, but the social media is, I mean, it's not similar, but it is quite, they're the same background in terms of talking to people, the things that you see. The problem with social media as opposed to gaming is you don't know what is going to happen. You don't know what they're going to see. You don't know what content you don't know what the videos they're going to watch. What are they going to read? What's going to happen? With gaming, it's the same exact thing every single day except the people. The thing that makes it similar to social media is you don't know what the person that you're playing with is going to say or do. So that's what changes. But the actual game, the vision, the things that they see on the screen is the same exact thing. But you said something because you work in cybersecurity and you see all the things that are happening, and you mentioned AI. So, are you worried about AI as a parent? And is there something that's coming in the future, or like AI, VR, metaverse, that makes you feel like, oh, I don't know, or you're excited about?
Um, the one thing is, chat gpt being accessible, like the fact that they know about it. They said that, I saw videos where people, and that's one of the things, like not being able to control the YouTube videos, because you may be controlling, or the fact that they're not on social media. A lot of those reels that you're seeing on social media are on shorts on YouTube, and they might be able to see, like it's very hard in that regard. I want to mention that because I haven't talked about that. But with AI, the fact that it's accessible, they talk about, like I've seen people writing their homeworks and essays on ChatGPT. Like they're aware of it, but then I don't want to say like don't use it or something like that. Like they're not using it, but they know that it exists to write some things, or maybe they hear us talking about it or us exploring it as parents. Um, but for me, it was more of like what I am scared of in terms of even adults, like feeding sensitive information to these AIs. And then, I think there is a report from World Economic Forum or something that how it can expose kids to risks ranging from privacy and safety issues. The fact that, the oversharing and just training that AI for, with those sensitive and personal information that kids may not have an understanding, and just entering those information because they want to the responses that it spits out. So, and that's a challenge even for grown up and as adults, and even for corporations, because they're trying to control it. Like, don't put in any information that might be, intellectual property stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, some people like put their like financial information in it to develop budgets, or like to develop a trip overseas or something like that. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my god, you're giving them like all of your information, what's happening. And so being mindful of that is very important. So as we close out, is there anything that we didn't discuss today that you wanted to talk about?
No, we pretty much talked about all of that. It's stuff. I mean, I wish there is more priority given um, cyber education in online safety in schools. I mean, you're doing amazing things on your own. I'm proud of you. But like for schools or parents who I think about, like, not every guardian or parent is providing that type of guidance or maybe have that accessibility. And I wish that schools have that. And I learned that less than half of K to 12 students receive cyber related education in the US.
Wow.
And I mean, they talk about tech, maybe they have tech classes, that kind of things. But what about cybersecurity? And every time I go to schools to do the readings, the kids are so interested because you're talking about something that they love, because they connect with that. Who's gaming? Everybody raises their hand. Who's been hacked? And everybody wants to tell you a story of how they got hacked. And they ask you all the funny and smart questions. But then the teachers are like, I wish we have this in school. Like, I wish we can do this, like to teach kids, because they're interested about it and it's a problem and they are online, and how do we protect them? Like the education piece is lacking. So I wish those conversations start this happen. And that's why in my small world, try to do this, the book publishing, teaching myself how to self-publish, and providing these books out there for parents and educators, so that it would become a good conversation starter to protect our kids online. So yeah, just that. And I'm very grateful to be on your space. We always watch your videos. Our kids love it. Thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I love, love, love what you're doing. I'm so happy that you publish all of these books, that you're going out, that you're speaking about it, that you have your TEDx talk, because it's so, so important. Like we're both doing what we can in the spaces that we have. And so I'm hopeful, like with the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years, that there is a lot more education there. And I know we already have the problem about teachers being paid what they're worth. And I truly believe that within the next 10, 15 years, there's actually going to be a position where someone, just like math, science, education, art, there's going to be a digital literacy, media literacy, and safety and security in the digital world, because digital world is the world. And so it's very important for that to be there. So again, tell us the books that you have, where they can go get it, and then how can people follow you and reach out to you.
Yeah, people can reach out to me on Instagram and LinkedIn. My main is LinkedIn, which is weird. A lot of people don't even see that as a social media.
It's
But
definitely social media.
it's social media, it's LinkedIn. It's changed over time. And for me, I've been on it, especially since 2020 during, COVID time. But my books are on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But I would prefer if people get it from me, because they get a signed copy from zinetkemal.com/shop. We can put the link, and then yeah, that's where you would find it. And I
Let
have
me put
two
it in.
books, and two of my books are also available on Spanish, translated for Spanish audience, speaking audience. Yeah, I have two cyber related books, and then Proud in Her Hijab is my first children's book. Yeah.
I love this so much. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and then I'll put it in the description below so that other people can have it. Let me press enter. Okay. So this is the website, right?
zinetkemal.com/shop. Yes,
Slash shop.
it would directly take them to. I don't want them to click different things, so it's
Let me
takes
do
them
the shop.
to where the books are, and then there are bundles like the cyber books together, and then also the coloring book, and then I'm looking at from my other screen to see, or the three books if they buy it to get that bundle too. So
Perfect. I just put it in the chat. So you can get the entire bundle or you can get some of the individual books
mhm,
and then you can get it signed. I have my book signed over here as well. So
yeah,
definitely get the signed copy. It's also always better to go to the author's direct website because that's where you get the most value both for yourself and the author. So I'm so happy with the work you're doing. Thank you for saying yes for doing this. I love your insights. I love your stories. It's such a positive but impactful source. So thank you so much.
thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.